This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Welcome inside the studio. It is a Flipadelphian Thursday here on the Bax and Grant Sports Show.
Is that official now?
Apparently. We're going to call Thursdays Flipadelphian Thursdays after the flippin' awesome coolness that happened yesterday. We'll get to Flipadelphia in just a minute, but welcome to all of you. I mean, we can call it a Flipadelphia Thursday, I guess. We have Hump Day Wednesday. We have Name 5 Friday. We're working titles for Monday and Tuesday, so we'll get to those in a moment. But welcome inside the studio as you continue to listen into the Bax and Grant Sports Show. Hello to all of you watching on Periscope. Great to see all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in and viewing. Hello to all of you listening to us live on Spreaker.com and on SportsRadioAmerica.com. Remember, you can catch us Monday through Friday from 7 to 8 a.m. Central on Spreaker and from 11 to 1 p.m. Central on SportsRadioAmerica.com, live 365, and tune in. And then on demand anytime. If you are not able to catch the show live, you can always go back and listen to it anytime you want to on iHeartRadio, on iTunes, and on Spreaker as well.
You can also find us on Facebook at the Bax and Grant Sports Show. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at BG Sports Show. And then also on Twitter, Baxter is at Baxter Colburn, and I am at Grant's Rant, BGSS.
Absolutely. And if you ever want to get a hold of the show for sponsorship, if you ever want to just talk about possibly coming on the show or just have an opinion about anything we talk about, you can drop us an email anytime you want at bgsportshow@gmail.com. That's bgsportshow@gmail.com. Well, Grant, it was a flipping awesome good time in Philadelphia last night as in my knowledge, the first time this has ever happened where an inside the park home run has happened of this way. Inside the park home runs have happened before, because we wouldn't have the term if they hadn't happened before. But last night, Grant, did you get to see the video of the crazy?
I got to watch the video. I got to watch the video. Yes.
Yes. For those of you that haven't had an opportunity to see it and or don't have a clue what we're talking about, last night the New York Mets and Philadelphia Phillies were playing each other in Philadelphia. And the New York Mets shortstop Ruben Tejada was up to bat, and he had a man on base, and he struck his ball down the right field line, and it looked like a good ball. And Dominic Brown of the Phillies went over to, you'd assume, make a routine, play on a ground ball, completely overshot the ball, had so much momentum as he was running towards it, he hit the sidewall and flipped into the stands, thus allowing the base runner and Ruben Tejada to circle the entire park and score a 2-run inside the park home run.
Well, yeah, because by the time anybody got over there, I mean,
they were
already gone.
Because they thought he had a good play on the ball, but he was running so fast to get to the ball that his momentum completely carried him right past the ball. And at that point, just the way he hits the wall, he sticks the wall and then
flips right
tops
on over.
Straight over. It's hilarious.
I mean, yeah, I'd say that's pretty much I'd say that's partly his fault.
It is.
But I mean,
is that par for the course for the Phillies season as a whole?
Well, yes, that. And the fact, I mean, that's got to be on the stadium in a little bit.
How many times do you think your players are going to flip into that vacant? It does look like a gap. It looks like there's a drop-off to where he goes in. It's almost like a space between where the stands are and then...
I think that's for the bullpen players because I think they have, or maybe it's their bat boy.
Maybe bat boy. I'm guessing.
Maybe bat boy. But,
either way, though, he looks like he completely goes out of frame. He drops and it's just gone. He just drops. Okay.
I'd say that's a little bit just on the stadium because some stadiums they just have giant old walls there. So he just slammed into the wall. He could probably run and get the ball and. They maybe score 1 run, but they wouldn't probably get a inside the parker. So.
And you didn't think so, but an inside the park home run that gave the Mets a 3-0 lead at that point, and the Mets ended up winning the game 9-4 last night over the Phillies.
So it wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't have mattered, but I feel that Flipadelphia.
It's still hilarious.
Now, Flipadelphia, for any of you that have ever watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, is apparently from that show.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was funny when I saw Flipadelphia was trending, and then I was like, "What is Flipadelphia?" And I was researching it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Because when it comes to baseball, let's be honest, I'm not a huge in the know with baseball,
and that's fine.
When something like this happens, I was like, "Oh, okay,
interesting."
I'm curious. So if you haven't seen it, if you're on Twitter, go to at MLB GIFs GIFS, and you can see it there. Or honestly, you can probably just Google Flipadelphia.
Right.
This sounds exactly like it is. FLIPADELPHIA. So
And if any of you are curious, we have the GIF pulled up, and we've been watching and looking at
it the entire time. It's been on loop for the 5 minutes we've been on the air. It's been on loop.
We're just watching this guy flip over this wall.
I feel bad for him. I got to scroll. I got to close the tab and move on. But anyway, Flipadelphia, a crazy night in the city of brotherly love as the Phillies end up losing 9-4. All right, Grant. Well, in this first segment, I wanted to test your SQ as part of some of the things that we do. You can find our shows as well on thesportsquotient.com with one of the partnerships that we have with them. So I like to test your SQ because the way that one of the phrase of their site is raise your SQ. You're the sport,
right.
Raise your sports knowledge, your IQ, as people say it in the normal world. So I have a few questions for you this morning, that I want to test you and see how you fare. Okay.
All right.
So we've got about 5 for you. So are you familiar with Joe Girardi, the Yankees manager?
Yes.
Okay. Within, let's say, 10, how many managerial wins does he have in his total time in Major League Baseball? I will give you a hint. It is above 700.
Oh, I said within 10.
Within 10.
You're going to give it. I was like, yep, he has won more than 10 games.
Yes, no, the number is over 700, but I'll give it to you within 10 if you can get within 10.
Jeez. 1,200.
1,200? No, he has 800 total career wins.
No idea.
Yes, 800 total career wins for Joe Girardi, which I think is very impressive.
Yeah.
Honestly. And we talked about Phillip Rivers yesterday in terms of his 252 touchdowns. Now, this may or may not surprise you. The amount of times that the United States men's national team has won the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which is kind of the mini World Cup just for North America, while they've co-hosted it. Do you know how many times they've won it?
While they won it, while they hosted it?
Yes, while they've been the co-host nation with it. It's usually between this last one. It was Canada and the U.S.
Well, I know they
think
lost
there might have been a Mexico
one.
game. I don't remember for sure.
How many CONCACAFs have there been?
Gosh, they've been going on for
since the
20 years. Yeah, I think about the early 90s. I think, to my knowledge. But has the U.S. ever won a CONCACAF Gold Cup that they've co-hosted?
I'm gonna say they haven't because I don't think
you're correct.
I don't remember.
They've never won a Gold Cup that they have co-hosted, which boggles my mind. But at the same time,
not surprised.
When you're the U.S. men's national team and you know as much as some of us do know about the soccer world, you're like, oh, well, okay, that makes total sense then. I don't know how to phrase this one. You're well aware of who Ronda Rousey is.
Oh,
obviously.
Yes.
Obviously. I mean, come on. If you haven't, then that's just despicable. Over the last 3 fights, she has been in the octagon a combined total of how long? 1 minute and 20 seconds, 2 minutes and 3 seconds, or 1 minute and 36 seconds?
Well, I know like her combined fights in her entire career is like 2 something.
Okay. So over the last 3 that she's been a part of.
I'm going to go, okay, so the last one was about a minute, and then the last 2 were like about 15 seconds. So I'm going to go with the 132 one.
136.
Or 136,
yes. Yep, you're correct. Yeah, her last 3 fights, she has been only in the ring for a total of 1 minute and 36 seconds. That's
crazy. That's absolutely nuts.
And then
that random Ronda Rousey knowledge of knowing how long.
That random Rousey. That's a lot. That's a lot of Rada. Exactly. All right. 2 more questions for you, Grant. I will give you a hockey question.
Oh, yes.
So, are you familiar with Andre Valesky or Valesky? I don't know how to pronounce Valesky.
I think that you're struggling.
He's a Lightning goalie.
Okay. Yes. Okay. All right.
True or false that he is the youngest goalie to ever win a game in the Stanley Cup Finals since 1986?
Ooh, since 1986?
True or false?
Probably.
That is correct. Yes, he is the youngest goalie to ever win a Stanley Cup Finals. Yes, win a game in the Stanley Cup Finals since 1986.
How old was he?
They don't show the number, but I would assume he's in his early 20s.
You move the mouse. Does it give you the number?
No. Oh, it's 1986 is the number that it gives me.
Huh.
So that's the important stat in there in the sports quotient's mind.
That's probably true because I know like earlier in that era you could have a lot. There was a lot of younger guys in the league. All right. So cool.
Absolutely.
I got that one.
Absolutely.
So what is that? Am I 2
you've
for
got
2?
two.
Or 3.
You've got 3. Yep, you've got 3 correct answers.
3 for 1.
All right, last one. Coincidentally, one of those was a soccer question. Last one for you is for Braxton Miller. You're familiar with who Braxton Miller is. Ohio State quarterback, now turned wide receiver, supposedly. Yes. Can you tell me how many? I will give this to you within about 1,000 yards. Can you tell me how many all-purpose yards that he has acquired since he started playing college football for Ohio State?
All-purpose yards.
All-purpose. So from catching, returning, running, throwing, hunting, fishing, camping. Oh, God. Gander Mountain. That's not it.
3,100.
No. Not even close. He has 8,346 yards.
I was going to go with that at first, and I'm like, that's a little too high and ridiculous.
Yeah, no, 8,346 all-purpose yards at Ohio State. Braxton Miller. That's incredibly impressive. Is he a junior or a senior this year?
I think he's a senior.
I think so. I know. I'm sure we'll be corrected. I'm sure via Twitter or a text in, but. Yeah, I think he's a junior or a senior. He's in his latter years.
Yes.
That's all I know.
He's definitely not a freshman. I can tell you guys that.
No, absolutely not. And I don't know if you remember this. I'll ask this quickly, depending on if you're paying attention. When we had Joe Wolfrath on, and then over just the last weekend, Golf Knowledge. I know, you're such a huge golf guy. But the number that happened, Jason Day, he won a major championship very recently with how low of a score? How many under par was he?
Oh, like 18?
Oh, you're very close. I'll give you one more guess.
17?
No! 20.
20? Okay.
20 under par.
I knew it was something ridiculously low.
Joe Wolfrath was on the show last week talking about it, and he was like, it's ridiculous. He's like, nobody goes 20 under par. Which Jason Day was like, crazy. I got this.
Don't worry, bros.
I got this.
Put the team on my back.
Exactly. That's what Jason Day does, apparently. Shooting a 20 under par. Well, Grant, you did a good job testing your SQ here in the first segment.
I did pretty good. I had a winning record.
You did. You'd make the playoffs if we were going a playoff bracket. So
if I was in the NFC South, I'd be going to the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
You know what? I just got to give the NFC South some love all the time,
NFC South. That's
the Falcons should be pretty good this year. You never know.
Yeah. Okay, one last hockey question for you.
All right.
How many Stanley Cup Finals have the Chicago Blackhawks won in the last 6 years?
In the last 6 years,
yes.
They have won 3.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, I had to give you one more hockey question.
I knew that one. That was pretty easy.
It was. Fair enough. All right, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we've got exciting news as David Kenyon of Bleacher Report will be joining us to preview the Packers-Saints game tonight and also to shed his general encyclopedia knowledge of the football world with us. This is the Bax and Grand Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Welcome back inside the studio on a Flipadelphian Thursday, as we like to call it now.
Flipadelphian
At least for today, it's a Flipadelphian Thursday. I kind of like just the way it rolls off.
It's very catchy.
Even though it happened on a Wednesday, and now that we're talking about it on a Thursday, I feel like it's
gotta happen.
We deemed it Flipadelphian Thursday. Flipadelphian or Flipadelphia Thursday?
Flipadelphian.
Flipadelphian Thursday.
Yes.
It's a Flipadelphian kind of day and a Thursday.
So, what is that? What do you do when you feel Flipadelphian?
I think that's a term of excitement.
All right.
I
so
think
much that you
it's such a Flipadelphian
flip over
day.
A wall and allow it inside
so there's
the
a wall in the
park run.
studio, so I'm so excited that I would flip over the wall, and that would be exciting.
I'd run around the bases and call it a day.
Yep.
All right,
and
sounds
one
good.
of us goes to the playoffs, and the other one just continues to rebuild. Okay.
Constant rebuilding cycle.
Usually how it works.
All right.
All right, well, we are going to play Adventures in our call-in line with David Kenyon. Hopefully it works out. We were trying to get him before the show, and it sounded like we got him. So, Lord willing, everybody please hang tight with us. So, welcome in Bleacher Report's David Kenyon. How are you doing this morning, David?
Doing well. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely, man. We're glad to have you on the show. We had you on Tuesday talking about fantasy football, and you offered some of your sleepers for us this coming fantasy season, as well as just some other general knowledge. And before we get into some of the other topics that we have, we wanted to just briefly look at the Packers-Saints game tonight, which we realize is going to kind of look like a Pop Warner game because Green Bay is going to be playing most of their second, third, fourth string water boys tonight, just because they need to figure out how to get from 75 down to 53 by Saturday.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer week. Everybody in the league does play tonight. At least the teams do. I know, like Baltimore, I saw an update where nobody on the QB is going to play. So if you're a Ravens fan, don't even bother. Unless you really like seeing who's going to be your gunner on special teams. But anyway, for Green Bay, I am actually looking forward to this game. I'd like to see Brett Hundley play again. He did.
Oh, David, we're losing you. Oh, David. Oh, we lost him for a second. Anyway, so I think what he was saying, though, he was talking about Brett Hundley getting a lot of action tonight, which I think will be definitely needed for the Packers.
Yeah, and Baxter, remember the thing I told you about before the show that I want to get your live raw reaction for?
Oh, gosh, this is the time you're going to do it.
This is the time I'm going to do it because it does relate to the topic that we are talking about. So I would like to bring it up.
Okay, please.
So I got a call last night.
You got a call?
Yeah, I got a call last night from my father, and he said he had an extra ticket to the preseason game tonight.
Oh, my.
So that's where I'm going tonight.
Hey, congratulations.
I'm going to be chilling in Lambeau Field.
Wow, look at you, sir.
Yeah, even though it's preseason, most of the starters are going to be
irrelevant.
sitting. But, I mean, I
get out there.
Yeah.
Represent the show.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. But, yeah, definitely it'll be great to see Hundley, to see how he plays. And I think the biggest thing that I'm going to be watching is the wide receiver battle.
You got it. And you're going to get to see Jared Aberdarius firsthand as well.
Yes, I am. His first game as a Packer, his first preseason game. So that'll be really exciting, and I'll be very excited to see it. So I'm really looking forward to that. Another big thing that I will be watching for is the defense, especially the linebackers, and seeing pretty much the whole defense, because how the line produces and how the linebackers, that's been a big question.
Yes, the linebackers have been a constant issue, especially, Matthews isn't going to play tonight, obviously, but we'll see some of the younger guys. Sam Barrington, I'm sure, will get some time. And Jake Ryan, the young rookie from Michigan, I think he'll get some solid playing time tonight also. So we'll see just kind of how some of these younger guys do, because we're gonna see some more of the young secondary guys. I feel. Sam Shields didn't play tonight.
No, probably not. But the younger secondary guys, like you were saying, they need to have some kind of development because the last couple or not the last couple of games, but the last game against the Philadelphia Eagles, they did not produce as well as they normally have done in the last couple of preseason games, because they did all right against New England. Actually, they did very well against New England, and they didn't do great against the Steelers, but it wasn't all that bad. But then they go against the Philadelphia Eagles, and the first team defense is the one getting gashed for 25 points in the first quarter. So it's going to be a really big deal, especially with some of these younger guys. If the first team guys aren't producing as well, they can prove that they can maybe come up and step up in that position. So it's going to be a very big night for some of those defensive guys. For another key thing to watch is the offensive linemen, because there have been some struggles in the backups with having to deal with it, especially left tackle.
Yes.
The player's name is escaping me right now.
Don Barclay?
Oh, yeah.
It
is Barclay.
Yes, Barclay.
Yes, I was thinking that name, and I'm like, no, that's wrong.
It is Don Barclay.
Okay, yes. Don Barclay, he has been struggling. So it will be key for
that's why Aaron
him.
Rodgers almost got – that's why Aaron was made a Roethlisberger in the end zone against the Steelers.
Pretty much, yeah. So this will be a big game for him, because who knows if all – of the offensive linemen, all 5 of them can stay healthy for 16 games throughout the season.
No, that's something we definitely don't know for sure. Well, I think we have David Kenyon back on the line. We were having some issues with our phones before, but David, do we have you back on the line now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I don't know what it was before, but we were struggling with you, but we got you now. So you were briefly talking about the Packers-Saints game this coming evening, which I just found out that Grant will be in attendance for, so slightly jealous, but at the same time he's going to be seeing probably a majority of the players that won't be on the team come Saturday, but he'll see some, like Brett Hundley and Aberdarius. Are there any players that are on the bubble watch right now, Kenny, that you feel will be able to make the team this coming season?
The one that sticks out to me is Ladarius Gunter. He's a cornerback rookie, undrafted out of Miami. And from everything I've seen, it sounds like he's played his way onto the roster.
Wow, which would be huge. Who would he be, the 5th corner or 6th corner? Because they surely won't get rid of their 2 draft picks. Would they carry 6, you think?
Yeah, he'll be number 6, but if they're going to carry that many, they're expecting Gunter to contribute on special teams, and that's something he's capable of doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Miami did that, where they used their best athletes, not necessarily just a bunch of backups on special teams. So Gunter does have experience in that role.
And that's something that Coach Mike McCarthy has said this year, too. He said that a lot more normal starters are going to be playing on special teams this year because the Packers were absolutely atrocious on special teams last season.
Well, they haven't really been all that much better in the preseason, so that'll be something to watch to see if they can turn that around.
And it's hard to judge in the preseason because, like David mentioned, that they've got Gunter and other guys that are fighting just to get on the roster. That's why Aaron Ripkowski, who has kind of made a name for himself on the Packers, has done good because of his special teams play, not necessarily what he's done with the offense.
And you're moving people around, trying to figure out the best.
Yep.
And special teams, it's kind of like a giant puzzle, and you're trying to give every guy a shot so he can prove what he's worth on special teams. But that's another key thing to watch going forward with the season to see if these special teams commit.
Yes. Yeah. So what do you think from a Packers defensive perspective, Kenny, can we expect from the Saints offense tonight? Are we going to see Drew Brees at all, or he's going to probably be on the bench tonight?
I'm not sure what the official decision is on Drew Brees yet, but I would expect him to not play.
I think rightfully so.
There's just so few people who actually will play tonight. So you're going to see a lot more of the New Orleans backups. If Brees does come out, it's absolutely for no more than one series.
Absolutely, just to keep him semi-fresh.
Yeah, but I do really like the Saints receivers that they have.
They do have an interesting...
deeper on the roster. Just some interesting names more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Brandon Coleman plays tonight. He's a he's an undrafted guy from 2014, but going into that 2013 college football season, he was heralded as a possible first-round pick.
Wow.
So he fell pretty far, but he's 6'6", 230.
Oh, my goodness. He's got quite the size then.
Future number 2.
Yeah,
he could be the future number 2 in the offense.
And I've been hearing a lot of good things about him this preseason, so we'll see how he performs.
I've got a good question just in terms of what the heck is going on with Marcus Colston, because the last 2 years I feel like he's kind of fallen off the face of the earth for the Saints organization. Number one, will we see him tonight? Number two, is he actually going to start producing this season from anything that you may have heard, David?
Colston he'll definitely not play tonight. He's a 10, 11-year veteran, 10th year. And there's no way. If Breeze isn't playing, Colston's not going to play. But the funny part about what you said, Baxter, is he's actually been one of the more consistent players, but he's just been overshadowed by Jimmy Graham.
Oh, that maybe might be why then.
Well, yeah, it makes perfect sense. But he had 59 catches for 902 yards and 5 touchdowns, which followed up 75, 943, and 5.
That's not horrible.
Right after four seasons that didn't go more than 1,154 yards.
And I feel like the standard nowadays for what at least the NFL and ESPN and all those big entities claim as a good wide receiver is if they're over 1,000 yards receiving. I feel like, which is unfortunate because, like you said, I mean I definitely admit to falling victim to that with Colston. That he hasn't produced 1,000-yard seasons the last few years. He hasn't had a ton of. He had 5 touchdown catches. It was okay numbers, but that's if you're a wide receiver, that's not terrible. But at the same time, from a knockout wide receiver perspective, you're like, he doesn't have 1,500 yards, he doesn't have 10 touchdowns, he's not good. Well, that's not necessarily the case, but I definitely understand the reasoning behind why people are so quick to jump on that.
Definitely.
Yep. So another question I had for you is in terms of the running backs too. With the Saints tonight, C.J. Spiller, will we see him tonight at all, or is it going to be mostly the Kyrie Robinson and Tim Hightower show?
It'll be the Robinson and Hightower show again. Unfortunately, Spiller is working back from a minor procedure, though I would hate to be a football player and have a minor procedure and be expected to be back within 3 weeks.
Anytime I hear that.
It'll be Kyrie Robinson, and that'll be a very important player for the Saints because Spiller has such a bad injury history that you might see Robinson enter the season as the third down back whenever Spiller's not able to play.
Fair enough. All right, well, looking at the Packers then just a little bit more in depth, we have a pretty good idea of who's going to make the final roster. I know I had asked you about this last Thursday with Aaron Ripkowski, but I'll ask it to you again because he seems to be garnishing some favoritism around Packer Nation just in terms of fans that are following him, but also just within the organization. Is he a player that does end up making this final 53-man roster, probably more so for just having a solid production man on special teams?
My gut feeling is if Gunter is going to make the squad, then Ripkowski doesn't. But he's been so good on special teams that I want to say yes.
And then my question to that is, if the Packers do end up cutting Aaron Ripkowski, what do you think the effects of that are going to be from they drafted a fullback even knowingly after just this offseason signing a fullback and then using a draft pick on him and then cutting him, even though they already had a solid fullback?
Feels a little redundant or just counterproductive, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Well, I think Ripkowski was drafted as a special teams ace, not necessarily a fullback. I just think he's a big-bodied guy who happens to play fullback, who is an excellent special teamer. So it will come down to Mike McCarthy's decision of, do I want to fill my team with special teamer, a very much needed one, especially after last season. And as you guys have pointed out, haven't been much better this preseason. But Rutkowski makes you better.
Right.
So my gut says no, but I would not be surprised at all if he does make the squad.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. No, that makes sense. I think moving forward, I mean, we'll see how Rutkowski ends up playing as a whole. Did you get a chance to see the welcome back luncheon pictures of Aaron Rodgers and John Kuhn in their Top Gun uniforms?
I did.
I thought that was fantastic. And what was it? Last year they went in. Was it last year or the year before that Rodgers went in a denim? Was it a denim suit or? I forget what it was.
I think that was last year.
I think that was last year.
He was like a full,
was it denim or was it, jeans and denim are kind of the same. I'm not going to get into fashion, but he was in some outfit last year that I was like, oh my Lord. But I thought it was like a fake promotional photo when I saw it, and then I saw there was a small article about it, and I was like, oh no, this was a real thing. This is Aaron Rodgers and John Kuhn just doing Aaron Rodgers and John Kuhn things. But I thought that was pretty darn funny.
Dressing up in their Blue Angels.
Yeah.
Pilot attire.
They're just like, hey, we're here. I mean, if I was a rookie, I'd be like, whoa. Like, all right. That's pretty sweet. Brett Hundley's probably taking notes in the corner with a notebook, just like, I want to be Aaron Rodgers.
How to be like Aaron 101.
That's what Scott Tolzien's been working on the last few years, and I think Scott's done a decent job with it. All right, Kenny. Well, before we let you go for the day, tell us, I know college football is right around the corner. Grant and I are looking forward to the Wisconsin-Alabama game on Saturday night. Grant is terrified. I don't really know how I feel about it.
Braced for the worst.
It's supposed to, Wisconsin's a 10-point underdog right now. But do you have any games that you're going to be keeping an eye on this weekend during your many football adventures?
Yeah. Yes, I will.
I'm sure you probably got a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Tonight, I am actually working Michigan-Utah. Jim Harbaugh's debut at his alma mater. Very much looking forward to that. Later on, or a little bit after that, later on tonight on ESPN, TCU in Minnesota.
Ooh, yes.
First look at Trayvon Boykin. Minnesota's a pretty underrated team. I like that defense. They have a strong secondary. TCU has a bunch of good wide receivers, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that one ends up. Tomorrow night, if you like blue turf, Washington and Boise State play.
Well, that'll be fun.
Always love that blue turf.
Washington's coach is who made Boise State relevant before he went to the Huskies 2 years ago, and that's their first meeting. So that'll be fun to watch. The Battle of the Brains, Stanford plays Northwestern on Saturday. And then another game I'll be working, Louisville-Auburn at 3:30. That's a neutral site game that's in the Georgia Dome.
Chick-fil-A kickoff, right?
Yeah. Yep. And then, of course, as you said, Wisconsin, Alabama. I can't wait for Corey Clement.
Are you riding the Corey Clement train this year, or what are your opinions on him?
Oh yeah, I'm all aboard. I will be the captain of that train if I need to be.
Just hop on and drive it all the way.
Yeah, I've heard mixed reviews about Clement. I mean, even from Wisconsin media. Most Wisconsin media loves Clement, but some guys have been like, well, we'll see. You know, he's only started one game his entire Wisconsin career. Well, he's been behind Melvin Gordon and Monty Ball, so he hasn't had that kind of time. But I'm excited to see what he does. I think starting off against probably the toughest defense he'll see all year tonight is a good thing for the young guy.
Well, at the beginning of the season, they gave their ESPN gave their pre-Heisman reviews, and Clement was one of the players
he was
that
one of the
six that could possibly win one of the.
But he plays running back for Wisconsin, so therefore he won't win.
Yes, he wears a Wisconsin jersey, so
therefore,
default.
Therefore, the media is like, no.
Unless he literally breaks every rushing record.
They'll still probably give it to a kicker down in Boise or something. No, they won't.
Well, because you have Monty Ball and Melvin Gordon. Well, Monty Ball broke the rushing touchdown record, and Melvin Gordon was just a tank. And then still.
I remember when being just a tank wasn't good enough.
Both of those guys. No, God. Whatever.
Absolutely.
Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston are apparently better football
We'll
players
find
than
out.
they are.
We'll find out. Well, David, thank you so much for stopping by on the show today. You can check out David's work on Bleacher Report and the Sportsnot and follow him on Twitter at Kenyon19_BR. David Kenyon, always a pleasure, sir. We'll see you again on Tuesday.
You got it.
David Kenyon, a good friend of the show, the encyclopedia of the football world, as we like to call him some days. So we're thrilled to always have him on the show. We're looking forward to chatting with him again on Tuesday once all the roster cuts are official. So we're going to go to a break. When we come back, Ronda Rousey taking names and going to a military ball. But we'll see if Connor Christensen decides to talk about that. If he doesn't, we'll make sure he talks about it.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Connor Christensen's Fight Corner is next. This is the Baxton Grand Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Baxton Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Grant.
How you doing?
Good. I just wanted the first name. You were like Baxter Colburn.
I went all first and last name on you. Now the people know my last name. If they don't know by now, they should know.
Well, it's in your Twitter.
Public
Twitter handle.
Well, some people are not as smart as the next. Unless you're in the Marines and you decide to ask Ronda Rousey out.
Then you're extremely smart.
Especially when she says yes. Then it's even. Then you're the most brilliant man in the world. And we had this discussion off air yesterday that if anybody were to ever date Ronda, they would probably have to be a Marine.
Yes.
So that way now they'd probably spar. They'd probably grapple a wee bit.
That'd be interesting.
Like, I feel like she can't date like a powder puff. Like, she needs to have that strong man presence in her life.
Well, hey, maybe she does need the dad bod.
Maybe she does need that strong, that sweet, like relaxed kind of guy. It's possible.
Yeah, just contrast.
Yeah, you need a contrast.
Her life is just, boom, 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 punch everybody in the face, kill them. And let me snuggle up to my marshmallow.
I don't know. He'd have to be like a really lovable marshmallow. Not like a Gabriel Iglesias, like fluffy kind of like marshmallow, but like
like the dad bod. If you ever Google the dad bod.
Like a Jim Gaffigan dad bod.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah, exactly.
He's made his living talking about the dad bod. Well, speaking of Ronda Rousey and just the fighting world as a whole, it is exciting for us because we get to welcome Connor Christensen onto the show. So welcome to the show, Connor. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Oh, fantastic. If Ronda Rousey's making headlines, we're usually pretty darn happy. So how about you?
Oh, man. That guy's a lucky guy.
He is.
Yes, he is.
He absolutely is.
First of all, you got to credit him because he came out and he asked her out, for the world to see, which is just crazy and awesome. And go that Marine. I forgot his name.
That Marine.
Go you. Way to go, dude.
Way to be.
And,
Semper Fi.
And then second of all, this is not a new thing where Marines have, done a video to ask out a celebrity to the Marine Corps ball. And Justin Timberlake was asked to the ball once, and he went with some female Marine.
I was going to say, I hope it's a female Marine.
Yeah, well, I would assume. I guess I didn't actually dig super deep.
I think it was,
but I would think so. So I forget exactly who
was it. Kim Kardashian
was interviewing.
Went with the other one, I
think. But she said yes, and they're going to take care of it.
Dang,
get it going.
I think TMZ was reporting on it. Because TMZ just sits on her basically, like they just follow her everywhere.
What is Ronda doing?
It really is like the Ronda cam. Like she could just kill all of them and then just walk away.
I can't remember the stipulation. I think it was that he had to find dates for her friends.
Yes, 3 of her friends.
And then he had to be a gentleman. That was what it was.
Yes, because she reiterated like in the interview that she's not a first date kind of girl, which most of us know what that means.
Awesome.
Which is good, and I respect her for that. She's like, I haven't met him yet, so we'll see. I was like, oh, all right, Rhonda, all right, I guess whatever works for you. But I mean, it's funny because you look at Rhonda and you see those pictures of her in the ring, like destroying every living organ in your body, just completely dismantling you. Doing a double shotgun decapitation, as Connor knows that reference from, and I haven't made that in a long time. Anyway, but then you see her out of the ring, and you see her at the ESPYs, you see her at other events where she's dressed up, and you're like, oh, she's a normal person.
She's beautiful.
She is.
She is very beautiful. And if you look at any other, not to smash any other UFC female fighters because they could rip out my organs and stuff them down my throat. But
wow, that's a visual I didn't need this morning.
They're not as they don't have like as much of a off the ring presence as Rhonda does, and she's now in movies, and she has a huge public presence with showing up.
People just seem to like her.
Yeah, and now people asking out to the ball and all this stuff, and I've never seen this with a female UFC fighter. So she's really making a name for herself. It's just, yes, she absolutely destroys people, but how great she is off the octagon.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Connor, but there's never been someone like Rhonda in any sense of the word.
No, absolutely not. She is way ahead of her time here. Just everything that she's bringing to UFC is, it seems like she's been a UFC fighter for 10 years or so, but it hasn't been that long, and like I said, she's way ahead of her time. So I think 20 years from now there will be other women who will be competitors like Ronda Rousey, but she is the first. She is she's the top of the list, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know if I'm sure you've heard, Connor, that there are rumors that she's thinking about retirement already.
It's hard to say whether or not she will retire. I would think that she would want to retire on a high note, but I think she's too high of a competitor. I don't think that she's willing to give it up right now. A couple of years, we'll see. A couple more wins, because her undefeated streak is just crazy.
Yeah, and
so personally, I don't think that she'll be retiring soon. I think that she'll keep fighting for a while. So I wouldn't worry out there, fans.
Yeah, and exactly like what I was going to bring up with the fans. Do you really think the fans would, she would want to disappoint the fans just going out? Because she's, been popular for about 5 or 6 fights now only, and she's just recently come on the scene later last year, and it seems foolish right now, at least to normal sports fans. Like Baxter and I, we normally watch football. We're not really in watch fighting sports. But then we hear a fighter talking about, I've been doing this solidly undefeated for about a year now, absolutely destroying and punching people's faces in, and now people can barely land a punch on me. But now I'm talking about retirement already. When we're used to Brett Favre.
Well, for some
Peyton
of those,
Manning,
though, it's a different sport, but they make their money quicker, I feel. Mm-hmm. Like for NFL, for NBA, for some of those guys, yes, if they have a huge guaranteed contract right away, well, yes, they're going to get some money. But the UFC fighters and just MMA fighters, correct me if I'm wrong, Connor, they get paid per fight, and they get a lump sum right away. So you can make several $1 million right off the bat and just walk out the door and be like, wow, I just made plenty for the next 10 years in one fight.
Exactly. That is true.
So is that why fighters talk about retiring early, or is there another factor?
Because they want to still be in charge of their faculties and still actually be able to use their money?
There is that, but it's not like going out and playing football when you get nice pads and it's you go into a ring and you destroy your body, and then the days that you're not fighting people, you're training to fight people, it's a lot of stress on the body. And, now I'm taking it from a athletic trainer standpoint, but it has a much quicker burnout rate then, well, not necessarily, but a lot of fighters don't last, 10 years because it's just so taxing on the body.
So Connor, another quick backup with that, with Floyd Mayweather and guys like Manny Pacquiao in boxing, are they just kind of the rarities of the fighting world because they're so
for how
old
long
and,
they've been playing?
Right. Is that extremely rare for them?
To be fighting at age 38, yeah, that's
I don't
rare.
know many 38-year-olds in any sport that are at the top of their game. Not that Mayweather or Pacquiao are at the top of their game, not to take anything away from them, but if you can still be, I mean, you have to commend Floyd, honestly. I mean, he's 38, and he just made $300 million in this last fight, but how many 38-year-olds can say that they're making $300 million to go and run around for 36 minutes? Like, not many. I don't think anybody can say that. So he has to be fair. As much as we dog on him and as much as he hugged Pacquiao, you still have to give him a little bit of credit for being valued at that. And some of that might be overhyped as well. Yeah, I mean, it's a debate that could rage for a long time, I feel like. So, but anyway, Connor, is there any specific fights coming up here in the near future that you would like to highlight for us?
Yes. Last week I talked about UFC 191, and I am going to talk about UFC 191 again.
Oh.
Because last time I got through a couple fights, but I didn't even get to the main event. I ran out of time. So today I'm going to make sure I don't run out of time, and I'm going to talk about the main event at UFC 191, which is Demetrious Johnson versus John Dodson. This fight is going to be amazing. I am coming out and I am saying it right now. It's going to be electrifying. It's going to be fast-paced. It's going to be punches and kicks the entire fight. 5 rounds, 5 minutes each round, and it's just going to be nonstop. I guarantee it. Demetrious Johnson is the champion. He is the champion of the flyweight division, which is 125 pounds. Now, don't get me wrong, 125 pounds is not a lot of pounds.
He makes me sound fat. Goodness.
But these two guys are some of the best fighters that the UFC has to offer. Demetrious Johnson is the champion. He is ranked number 3 pound for pound in all of the UFC.
Wow.
And if that doesn't tell you how good the dude is, then I don't know what will. John Dodson just might be the only person who could even challenge him right now.
Interesting.
And the only way I see John Dodson winning this fight is if he brings pressure right away. And what I mean is John Dodson has a really heavy hand. And what that means is he has a lot of knockout power. And for a flyweight, that's actually kind of rare because it's just harder to find huge knockout power in the flyweight division. But John Dodson, he can knock you out. He can destroy you, and he will have to do that quickly. I will say, if John Dodson does not take it in the first round, Demetrious Johnson will beat him. No matter, I don't know how. Demetrious Johnson is just so good. It's hard to say how he'll win. Some people are, Demetrious Johnson's going to submit this guy for sure in round 4, and other people are saying that it's going to be a TKO and whatever. I'm not going to come out and say how I think Johnson will win because it's too hard to predict because Johnson's just too good.
I always find it interesting. I always find it interesting when people try to predict like the round. Like, how do you know?
Yeah.
You don't know. Like, I think round 3 with a knockout. Well, sure, maybe, but what happens in round 1 or round 2? Like, anything's possible, as we've seen with a lot of UFC fights recently.
Mm-hmm. It is hard to predict. Sometimes you can kind of go on a trend and say, this person favors the submission, so we'll say that they'll win by submission, and then, I don't know, they have good cardio, so we'll put them in round 3 or something. I think it's just to get fans talking.
Oh, absolutely. Because people didn't make predictions, the sports world would fall apart.
Yeah.
People that work in the media like Grant and I, we need to have something to talk about, right?
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, right?
Otherwise we lose our jobs.
Gotta give you boys work.
Exactly. Well, is there any other upcoming fights that are notable that fans should be keeping an eye on before we let you go, Connor?
No, check out Demetrious Johnson versus John Dodson.
Looking forward to it.
UFC 191.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Connor.
September 5th.
Was it September 5th, you said?
Yes.
September
2 days from
5th.
now.
All right. Well, UFC 191, we're looking forward to it. Connor, always a pleasure, sir. We look forward to we hopefully look forward to you. And we hopefully look forward to you coming in the studio sometime. We miss you, Grant. Misses your face, apparently, is what he reiterated to me off air before. So one of these days. So have a great weekend, man, and enjoy the fight as well.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
You too, man. All right, we're going to go to another break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the dark horse candidates around the NFL in terms of each division. So this is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
See, I decided to go with just my nickname.
Proud of you.
Proud of
your nickname.
I don't know why.
Is that
Bax isn't my real name. It's just,
I thought.
it's my nickname.
I guess.
It's
a shortened of your real name. Does that really count as a nickname?
It's like calling you Gra or Gur. It's different.
Hey, Gur.
Hey, Gur. Might start calling you Gur.
Let's not and say we didn't.
I call you G Rant.
You do sometimes. You do.
G Rant. That's like your rapper name.
And it brings me back to high school days. That's what
people called you. G Rant.
Yes.
Oh gosh, high school.
They called me a lot of things in high school.
Yeah,
We're not going to go into those though.
Hashtag private school. Anyway.
No, not a private school. I went to a public high school.
Oh well, I went to private school, so those Catholics, they'll get you every time.
Oh yes, every time.
Anyway, all right, Grant. Well, Fansided.com has come out with a new article called "One Dark Horse NFL Team for Every Division," written by Andrew Garda. You can follow Andrew Garda at Andrew_Garda on Twitter. He has an interesting article as he looks through each division in the NFL with one dark horse candidate in each. So we are going to skip through each and see kind of what our general thoughts and reactions are. For the AFC East, he has the New York Jets, which, after talking to David Kenyon about a week or so ago, he made mention of just how dangerous the Jets' defense is actually potentially going to be this year, mixed in with some of their veteran wide receiver talent. Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, not a bad idea. In terms of who's going to be throwing the ball in New York, we don't know.
That's the big question.
But
with Geno Smith's jaw being busted in and just with the lack of what's the word I'm looking for? The lack of talent. Well, not really talent. The skill. Yeah, consistency. Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for. Lack of consistency in the quarterback spot. And for all of you freaking out that what about the Miami Dolphins?
Well, that's why this is a dark horse.
Yes,
the Dolphins are, in my opinion, a clear favorite to take second. They're upset the Patriots.
They're projected to do fairly well. Yeah, and depending on how the whole Tom Brady thing goes, we never know. But yeah,
which we should know today.
Oh yeah, that is. He said by the end of the week.
The end is near. So either today or tomorrow.
Yeah, he said Friday.
Judge Berman. When I hear Judge Berman, I'm just like, Chris Berman's doing the whoop. That's like all I hear. He's in the courtroom doing that. Sorry. Anyway, whoop.
Tom Brady
was like, whoop, with the ball. God, those Sports Center highlights are the best.
They're one. The big question for the Jets is Fitzpatrick, and if he can perform.
Absolutely, or Matt Flynn, in your opinion.
Matty Flynn.
AFC North, the Cleveland Browns are projected to be the dark horse candidate, which at this point, the defense, not bad, honestly. Joe Hayden leading the charge. Offensively, also not horrible. Brian Hartline at wide receiver, mixed with other people.
But can you get them the ball, though?
But when it comes to who's throwing them the ball, is it going to be McCown? Is it going to be Johnny Manziel? Is it going to be the Water Boy? We'll find out. Steelers still are going to win that division, and then that second spot is kind of a toss-up, honestly. So we'll see what happens in there. AFC South, the Houston Texans. Regardless of how weird the offense is this year, yes, that age-old thing of defense wins championships continues to surface.
And J.J. Watt playing every position.
However, yes, as I say, J.J. Watt adds an entirely different element, especially if they try to get him on both sides of the ball again this year, which I think they should. But then you are also kind of a fan, Grant, of Brian Hoyer.
I am.
Well.
I'm actually a very big fan of Brian Hoyer. I think he's a decent quarterback. I don't think people are giving him the respect that he deserves, or like the media that he deserves. I think he did very well in the Browns organization, even though the team wasn't the greatest. He didn't have the best weapons around him, and he still produced fairly well. And then the Browns were just like, hey, we want to get Manziel started, and kind of treated him kind of bad. So anyway, he won the starting position, the starting quarterback position. He has been named the starter over Ryan Mallett,
which is good.
I think that the Texans are going to be a little bit better than people are giving them credit for.
They've got an interesting division, especially being in there with the Colts as well. Looking at the AFC West, Grant, the San Diego Chargers are projected to be the dark horse in that division, which when you're in the same division as the Raiders, who are kind of getting a rejuvenated life to them, I'm curious to know. I feel like Oakland is maybe more of a dark horse candidate, but then you've got Kansas City and Denver. Also, Denver, barring a major collapse or Peyton Manning's leg breaking, knock on wood, I think that Denver should win the division.
Right.
But San Diego...
Well, and then you have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Which, defensively are not horrible. Offensively, well, is Alex Smith that good of a quarterback?
Right, and
I don't know.
Look at the wide receiver situation last year. We bring it up time and time again. The Chiefs wide receivers did not catch a single touchdown pass last year.
Which just blows my mind. The NFC East, you have the New York Giants as the dark horse favorites in that one, but who can blame them when you've got the Cowboys and all of their talent, and the Eagles with the wild and crazy circus that's happening there. And then the Giants rightfully have to fall into place. And the only way
Redskins, it's like
the Redskins just aren't. There are 3 teams in the NFC East this year. The Redskins are going down to college. They've been relegated.
Any game that you play the Redskins, it's going to be a big old barn burner.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be curious to see if Washington wins more than 5 games this year, I'd be shocked.
Well, because you have the 2 games against the Cowboys, the 2 games against the Eagles, so that's 4 losses right there for you. And then going up against the Giants, we'll see. The offense, to me, has looked like a big struggle for the New York Giants, so that should be interesting how that goes. But, Redskins season's not looking good already.
No, not at all. In the NFC North, Grand, I'm a little surprised that they call them a dark horse, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, people are bagging on the Vikings.
They're our pick to finish
why.
second, honestly.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Green Bay just being lovely and amazing, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know, because Minnesota Vikings have a very decent team putting together. The big question for them right now is the offensive line and the defensive line.
I'd have to agree with you on that one. All right, in the NFC South, quickly, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are rumored to be the dark horse team. But honestly, in the NFC South this season, it's still wide open.
Any team is a dark horse team.
Which I think is fun. I think it'll be fun. The NFC South, if you're an NFC South fan, keep an eye on them. You never know what you might get from them. And finally, before we go to one last break, the NFC West, the Arizona Cardinals are projected to be the dark horse in that division as well.
Which is so interesting, because last season, minus the Carson Palmer injury, they were the best team in the league at the first half of the season, people were saying.
Absolutely. So that we just reviewed the one dark horse NFL team for every division, courtesy of Fansided.com and Andrew Garda as well. Go check out the article and let us know your thoughts. We're going to go to one more break. When we come back, the playoff hunt in the Major League Soccer world is heating up. You're not going to want to miss it. This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Welcome back inside the studio as we get ready to head off for the day. We are going to briefly chat about the MLS playoffs, but I will do you a favor, Grant. I know that you need to scoot off to academia, as the academia world is calling you, so I will take the reins from here, Grant, and I will bid you adieu for the day, so enjoy class.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for listening to the show. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You'll hear my voice tomorrow.
Yes, you'll hear his wonderful voice tomorrow, so we'll see Grant tomorrow, and wish him the best in his classroom adventures today as well. So before we go today, folks, Major League Soccer, for some of you that follow the league as closely as I do, continues to heat up, and we definitely want to just briefly talk about it. So looking at the current standings in Major League Soccer with just a handful of games to go, the teams play 34 games. Some have already played 28. Some have only played 25. Looking at the Eastern Conference, DC United in first place with 44 points, the New York Red Bulls with 42, Columbus Crew in 41, Toronto FC with 37 in fourth, fifth place, the Revolution of New England, 37 points, and Orlando City SC with 29 points, holding on to that sixth spot in the Eastern Conference. Looking at the Eastern Conference as a whole, though, right now the Columbus Crew and the Red Bulls are the two hot teams. I would not be surprised if the Red Bulls leapfrog DC United for that first overall position, and the Columbus Crew are able to sneak up maybe into that second spot, but the Revolution have been playing well and have a fairly easy schedule to finish out the remainder of the season. So in that regards, I would not be surprised if the Revolution are able to sneak in and grab potentially that second spot. So for those of you that don't know, Major League Soccer has gone to a 6-team from each conference playoff system this year, which means the third through the sixth seeds will be playing each other in a one-round knockout game, and then we'll move on accordingly to two-leg games after that. Looking at the Western Conference, the LA Galaxy sitting atop the Western Conference and atop of the league in terms of the Supporters' Shield with 46 points. The Vancouver Whitecaps in second with 45 points. FC Dallas with 41. Sporting Kansas City with 40. Portland Timbers with 40. And Seattle Sounders with 38. Now, the Western Conference has been quite interesting, especially on those bottom spots, as the San Jose Earthquakes have been hot recently, and Houston Dynamo are trying to sneak in. Colorado Rapids also trying to sneak into the playoffs, with the Seattle Sounders barely holding on to their sixth spot. Playoff time, always a good time. I love it. I'm a huge soccer fan. I know Grant is working on his love for the sport, but as it happens in the soccer world, for those of you out there, you never know what's going to happen. Even kind of like football and baseball sometimes too. It's a 90-minute game. You never know what's going to happen. Any team can win. Any weird, crazy thing can happen. For those of you England fans out there, I don't need to mention Robert Green's muffed easy save that he had against Clint Dempsey in the World Cup 2010, where that should have been an easy save, but he muffed the save, and it ended up being a goal. Anything can happen, folks. Anything can happen, just like it does here on the Baxter and Grant Sports Show. Thank you so much for all of you to tuning in today. For those of you that watched us on Periscope, we salute you, and thank you very much for that. For those of you that tuned in live here on Spreaker.com, remember you can catch us Monday through Friday live here on Spreaker.com from 7 to 8 a.m. Central and from 11 to 1 p.m. Central on SportsRadioAmerica.com, live 365, and tune in. And you can catch us on demand anytime you want to on iHeartRadio, on iTunes, and on Spreaker.com as well. Social media, you can connect with us all different times of ways. Facebook, The Baxter and Grant Sports Show. Twitter, at BG Sports Show. I'm at Baxter Colburn. He's at Grant's Rant BGSS. Instagram, we are BG Sports Show. Remember, if you use the hashtag, The Bax Grant Sports Show, your pictures will show up on Sports Radio America's website as well. So show your fandom, show your favorite jerseys, your favorite teams, your favorite everything. We love hearing from you. And if you ever want to get a hold of the show, you can email us at bgsportshow@gmail.com. Special thanks to Bleacher Report and the Sports Knots, David Kenyon, for jumping on the show to talk about the Packers, Saints, and just the college football world as a whole. And then to Connor Christensen as well for offering his fight corner for us on UFC 191 and Ronda Rousey. Always a good time talking about Ronda and UFC with Connor. Tomorrow we have Grant's Rant. We have Sam Wallace's 101 segment. Megan Landvatter will be here as well to challenge Grant in Name 5 and offer her Wisconsin versus Alabama preview, and so much more. It's been another exciting edition of the Baxter and Grant Sports Show. Enjoy your Flipadelphian Thursday. Not Friday, goodness. A Flipadelphian Thursday. I'm Baxter Colburn. He's Grant Coppersmith. We will see you all tomorrow. Enjoy your day, everyone.